Hello everyone, my name is Beckett and welcome back to the channel. And today in Division 2, I have another build video for you guys today, but we're going to be doing something a little different. Ever since that XP farm glitch in the Darkzone, I have been reinvigorated. It's not like I hated the Darkzone, but I just didn't have the time. There was just so much content for me to do as I missed all of year one, so I was just getting caught up. And then when that farm came in, I'm like, I really don't want to grind out activities at all. So I was like, thank God. So I went to Darkzone and I started having a blast, but my Hunter's Fury gear set will not hold your own in there. Yeah, you can kill NPCs, but as soon as you have to deal with a rogue or you just want to ruin someone's day, you're going to have a little trouble. And I just want to state this is not the end all be all build. This is something that you can take into the Darkzone and you can farm out those best in slot items like the Emperor's Knee Pad, Claws Out, Hollow Man, certain items like that we need to min-max our PvP build. But don't worry, every item in this build you will be able to find in the light zone and is very easy to farm. Probably the toughest thing is going to be the exotic, but if you played last season, I'm pretty sure you have it. But before we get into the build, if you enjoy my content, hit that subscribe, and if you like the video, smash that like button. Now when it comes to the playstyle, a lot of it is situational, and a lot of it you'll already know. If you're used to a Hunter's Fury build, you'll understand clearing landmarks, running through, run and gun, taking out everyone, stay alive, keep your shield up, have a revive hive if you want, or EMP. I will show you the skills because we're going to have actually two different builds that we're going to switch out depending if we are farming landmarks or we are extracting or just ruining other agents' days. Now let's take a look at our specialization. So we are going to be running the firewall. A really good thing about it is the med kit that will give us a 200% armor kit over 10 seconds. Now at first it's like that doesn't sound that great, but it's really good for PvP and probably the best to use. Of course you can use it when you're almost dying, but a great use is if you plan on going rogue or you're about to deal with rogues. Even if you're at full health, pop that preemptive and just run in and just burst them down, because you're going to have your other armor regen as well as the 20% armor regen a second lasting for 10 seconds. And if you don't kill something in 10 seconds, you are probably already dead. As well as we're going to be using the striker shield just because we get that extra damage bonus, and all those extra damage bonuses is pretty good. As well, we would want to spec into the shotgun one just so we can get that extra 10% critical hit damage mod. It does stack up and it comes in handy. Now let's take a look at our weapons. So for the primary, you will see I am running the Carbine 7, and this is what I use to clear landmarks. If you were running a striker specialization, you could run double vectors or double SMGs, whatever you prefer, but it works really good. The talent I prefer using is fast hands, critical hits at a stack of 4% reload speed. Bonus max stack is 40. So we're pretty much cutting our reload speed completely in half. This is a top tier talent and is my favorite talent to run with any high RPM AR. Alright, for our second weapon, we are going to be using the Vector. Now it is probably one of the best guns in the game and probably one of the best SMGs that you can use in a PvP situation. It just hits everything on that checklist. We have high RPM, we have great recoil control and great damage, as well as it just looks good. I mean, if cosmetic is not part of your checklist, you're doing something wrong. Now, when it comes to attributes and talents, you are kind of open-ended and you're not going to be pigeonholed into anything, so you don't have to spend hours farming out a vector. But these are three attributes that you're going to be looking for. Either damage to target out of cover, damage to armor, or health damage. Any of them are really good. And for talents, same thing. In sync would be ideal just because the synergy with your shield or your EMP, as soon as you pull out your shield, in sync procs, and as soon as that first bullet hits, you are doing 30% extra weapon damage, making it so you're practically running a red build with 2 armor tiers. You could also go as Sadist since we're going to be running the Ridgeways Pride. Also, if you have a Dark Winter, that is not a terrible choice either, although it comes with Perfect Killer, which is not totally ideal for PvP situations, just because I don't like anything in PvP where I have to get a kill, because you're not always going to be guaranteed a kill, especially in those first few seconds of an engagement. Those are the most important. That's going to decide whether you win or lose. That's the same thing when it comes to armor on kill. I think it is a useless stat in PvP. We want something that is passively regenerating our armor. We don't want to have to rely on a kill, because if we have to do that, we're all ready, dead. Alright, so let's hop into our gear and see what we're running. So for our mask, we are going to be running the Silk mask for that extra 10% SMG damage. And ideally, we're just going to want critical hit chance and critical hit damage into everything. As well as for our backpack, we are going to be running the Bellstone Armory for that 1% armor regen, because we're going to want that armor regen up. And if you can get a good roll, I am still looking for a good roll on my Bellstone Armory, but you're going to want armor, critical hit damage, critical hit chance with the talent Adrenaline Rush. Now, like I said, I don't like anything armor on kill. I like things that are passive. And with Adrenaline Rush, you're always going to have armor up, and it's going to reset every 5 seconds. It's huge, and you just can't rely on things like Bloodsucker. Now, as for our chest piece, we are going to be using the exotic, the Ridgeways Pride. In Season 11, I believe you got this from a quest line, but I don't know if you still have to do that. You might be able to just go to wherever a targeted loot chest piece is and go ahead and get that. But the great talent about this is shooting enemies within 15 meters. Applies a bleed to the target. Since we're always going to be in close range, we're always going to be pushing people, we're going to have that repair up. So even if we're just focusing one target, we're going to have that 3% armor regen. Plus we're going to have our backpack. So ideally, always we're going to have at least 4% armor regen. Now, as for our gloves, we are going to be running the Contractor gloves. Again, we're just going to be rolling that critical hit chance, and it comes with damage to armor. That's a huge stat. Do not even worry about that 10% LMG. It is worth losing a brand set bonus for that 8% damage to armor. It is huge in PvP, and it's huge in PvE. Now, since we are not going to have our Emperor knee pads, because we're going to have to go to the Darkzone to farm this, we're going to be using the Fox Prayer knee pads, and I re-rolled mine to armor. You can re-roll just as long as you have 2 armor attributes. We're going to be running 4 red and 2 blue, and it comes with 8% damage to target out of cover, and I had armor regen on that, and a little extra armor regen never hurt. Now, if you don't know where to find the Fox Prayers or the Contractor gloves, so the Fox Prayer, the easiest way to farm this is go to targeted loot for Overlord's armaments. And when it comes to the Contractor gloves, you're going to want to go to a Petrov. You don't want to farm gloves, and you don't want to farm knee pads because the loot pool is just way too big. Don't worry, within 20 to 30 minutes, usually I found a set of Fox Prayers or a set of Contractor gloves. It's very easy and manageable to farm. Now, as for our last piece in our holster, we are going to be running a Grupo holster and just critical hit chance and critical hit damage, and it comes with that brand set bonus of 15% critical hit damage. It is huge. That's a lot of extra damage, but if you are looking for something a little more tanky, you could always pick up another Bellstone, but I just prefer to have that extra hit. I don't like to be a wet noodle. Now, when it comes to our skills, we are always going to be using the Striker Shield, just because when it's out, we get that extra 6.5% weapon damage, and if we can get the mod that adds another 5%, it is going to be big damage, and you'll see, but it's only a close range. It's about 15 yards in front of you, but you'll see a little yellow or orange area wherever you're able to get that extra damage. Now, when it comes to mods for that, you're going to want active regeneration, shield health, and of course the extra damage mod if you have one or you can find one. Now, for other skill, it's going to be completely situational. Depending, if we're just clearing landmarks, it's always nice to have that hive just in case you make a mistake or you go in too far and you get killed, it's going to revive you. But if we're playing on extracting, going rogue, or just fighting rogues, ideally we would want the EMP. It just works. It will also proc off that in-sync talent, and it's just going to take out the other team's shield. Now, when it comes to stats, honestly, we just want to get as close to that 60% critical hit chance cap as possible. Don't go 55, don't go 56. Try to get right on 60. As you can see, I'm at 59.2. I wasn't going to add another mod and lose 12% critical hit damage. You're just going to have to do that, but I always suggest being at least 55%. And critical hit damage, you can see we're sitting at about almost 150. That is not a bad place to be at. Now, when we go ahead and look at our armor, you can see we're almost at 1.1 million armor. Not too bad for running 4 reds and 2 blues. And when you look at the armor regeneration, it looks low. It's only 16,000. But when we get that proc from our Ridgeways Pride, we're going to be sitting at around 55 to 60,000 armor regen. Now, there are downsides, and if we cannot keep that Ridgeways Pride bleed buff up, so we have that 60,000 1000 armor regen at all times. It can be a little tough, so you're going to have to be very aggressive. If you don't like that, there might be other builds, but this is definitely a good spot to get you inside the door so you can walk in the Darkzone and start farming out those best in slot items. Ideally, the first thing you're going to want to do is start farming out those Emperor knee pads. Find some Darkzone that either has Murakami or knee pads, and once you get that 1% armor regen, you're going to feel a lot better and a lot more sustainable, especially when you're not directly in combat or when you are pushing in on rogues or NPCs, whatever it may be. But that is all I have for the build. I hope you guys have good luck out in the Darkzone. And if you're looking for other build videos, tutorials, news on Division 2, go ahead and check out my channel. I have everything for new players, old players, and everything in between. And thanks again for watching, guys.